Hello, everyone at Homeo Summit. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Paola Brown, and I'm President of Americans for Homeopathy Choice. And I'm so excited that you're here learning about homeopathy and all of the different parts of the homeopathy world. I am the President of Americans for Homeopathy Choice. I have been President of Americans for Homeopathy Choice since late 2017, early 2018 was kind of when we were started informally, and then more formally in 2018. And we are here to advocate for your access to the full range of homeopathic medicines. This photo is a group of our advocates. And yeah, I want to tell you a little bit about what's going on in the United States. So the title of this presentation is The FDA and Our Homeopathic Medicines. Should you be worried? I'm actually not going to answer this question for you. You're going to listen, and I want you to answer this question for me as we move along today. So let me tell you a little bit about the background. Homeopathic medicines in the United States are legally drugs, which is kind of hard to believe because homeopathic medicines are natural, they are safe, they are under the umbrella of natural medicine. But in the United States, all supplements and herbs and different things are regulated as food, as dietary supplements, but homeopathic medicines are legally drugs per the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. And there's an interesting story where this is Senator Royal Copeland. He was the primary author of the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. He was a medical doctor and a homeopath. And the reason that he wanted to include homeopathic medicines as legal drugs is because he wanted it to be a unique and separate category. And he wanted to protect our access to homeopathic medicines. But as the world has become more big pharma indoctrinated, we see that this has created a difficult environment for homeopathy, and we'll learn about that. So in 2017 and then finalized in 2022, the FDA created a policy document. And this policy document indicates really an undeniable shift in the FDA's treatment of homeopathic medicine. So before this policy, this new policy, which is now finalized, it used to be called a draft guidance, now it's a finalized guidance. Before this came into existence, FDA's policy was just basically like, okay, homeopathic medicines are drugs, but they're kind of different, they're unique, they're very safe. So they don't need to go through the same drug approval process that conventional drugs go through. And they had a policy that outlined exactly how these medicines should enter the market. Well, instead, in 2017, they announced that they were going to take a completely new shift to homeopathic medicines. They eventually did rescind that former policy. It was called the CPG 400.400. They got rid of that. And now they finalized this new policy. And basically what this policy says, and I'll just read you the words. However, this guidance is intended to provide notice that any homeopathic drug product that is being marketed illegally is subject to FDA enforcement at any time. So now what does that word, which ones are being marketed illegally? You would hope that not many of them, right? Well, actually, according to FDA, all of them are being illegally marketed because none of them have gone through the approval process or the OTC drug review process, which are designed for chemical pharmaceutical drugs that homeopathy couldn't even pass if it wanted to. So it was very interesting. We met with the FDA and we said to them, look, you may not realize this, but you have two paths for drugs to enter the market. You have the OTC drug review process for over-the-counter drugs, and then you have the new drug application process for prescription drugs. Both of these paths make no sense for homeopathy. Homeopathy is highly individualized, whereas you might have a drug like a painkiller that helps for the majority of people and only kills a few people. Homeopathy doesn't go by like these large condition labels. There's no one headache remedy. Homeopathy is highly individualized. And so it wouldn't be able to go through either of these paths, even if it wanted to. And FDA said, no, we know that homeopathy is unlikely to go through either of these paths. We just want to have the authority to pull these off the shelves. They said to discipline or to regulate these whenever we feel like we need to. So really, this is FDA kind of taking authority to make decisions around homeopathy that they think they need to. And needless to say, this is concerning to us because according to FDA, if all homeopathic medicines are being illegally marketed, what do they need no other reason to pull a medicine off the shelf. And I'll talk about this in a bit. So Americans for Homeopathy Choice formed in response to this guidance. We were able to slow down the finalization of this guidance, and we were able to grow our advocacy team. We worked really hard to do that. But the agency said, the FDA said, well, we anticipate that many homeopathic drug products will fall outside of the categories of the drug products that FDA intends to prioritize for enforcement and regulatory action. So they said to us, but don't worry. Yeah, we did do this guidance here. We do have this finalized guidance, but don't worry. We anticipate that many homeopathic drug products will fall outside of the categories that we're going to discipline and remove from the market. Okay. So we kind of, some in the homeopathic community held their breath. We got busy. We got busy organizing. We didn't like this. So let me tell you the practical impact that we've seen. The FDA's new interpretation is creating burdensome, good current manufacturing practices requirements, making it very difficult, especially for small manufacturers to keep up. They've been able to block medicines at the border. We actually saw this just recently. I'll talk about it here in a moment, but they're able to block entire groups of homeopathic medicines that we no longer have access to because a lot of homeopathy is manufactured overseas, particularly in Europe. So the company here in the US will manufacture over there and ship them. So they've been able to use this new policy to block medicines at the border very quickly. It's one of the quickest way FDA has blocked your access to homeopathic medicines. They've made the CGMP requirements more difficult and unclear. And then there's been a ripple effect. There's always been predatory lawsuits on homeopathic companies, which is a burden in the industry, but it's always just been something that they've had to deal with. But actually, what started happening is they said, because FDA says, now let's read that language again, because FDA says that the homeopathic medicines are being marketed illegally, well, that's created a whole opportunity for lawsuits to come out and come after homeopathic medicines and to actually go after them because of this new designation from the FDA. It's created a lot of uncertainty in the marketplace where retailers that normally put homeopathic medicines on their shelves, we've seen a reduction in that because of that uncertainty. So really, FDA has done a really good job of creating a chilling effect in the market. And the ultimate impact here is that consumers lose. So we see what you're seeing is a lot more pressure in the homeopathy industry, pressure with CGMP, pressures with lawsuits, and pressures on categories of medicines that FDA doesn't like. We've seen homeopathic eye drops. That's one that I was just mentioning I was going to talk about. They're gone. So in the United States, it happened to be that all homeopathic eye drops that were sold were manufactured overseas. And FDA basically blocked all of those from entering the United States at the border. And as far as I know, we cannot find any homeopathic companies that sell eye drops. And that's very concerning, very, very concerning. So we at Americans for Homeopathy Choice Action, we want the full range of homeopathic medicines to remain available. We don't want just a few, we want the full range. We actually want more than the full range. We want more the industry to grow and to thrive for us to have access to these medicines. So let me kind of tell you our timeline as an organization, what we have been doing. We started with, today we have 120,000 members of support. And actually, I'm going to show you guys real quick. I'm going to go to my website here. Hang on. And I want you guys to go to Homeopathy Choice. I'm going to show you how easy it is to do this. You go to homeopathychoice.org. And I'm going to navigate to that right now and show you guys my screen. And I would love for you to become a free member with us, because when you become a free member, you're basically signing up to our email list to be alerted. So here we have right here, free membership. You click that button from homeopathychoice.org. You click that button, and then you can become a free member by providing us your email address. And we even ask if you want to send us your phone number, because we can text you, because I know that a lot of emails get blocked when we're trying to communicate with you. So if you put your name, your last name, your email and phone number, we do not bother you with a lot of text messages, but we pretty much just reach out to you when we have an important alert or something that we think is worth knowing about. So definitely go to homeopathychoice.org and from the homepage, click on free membership. So do become a free member and help join that growing support that we have. We did submit 2 citizen petitions opposing the guidance, the draft guidance at the time in 2018 and 2022. Those opened a comment period on FDA, and we sent in over 158,000 comments, which is really big. That got a lot of attention at the FDA, which is a good thing, and a lot of attention at Congress. And then we sent over 500,000 messages to federal officials on our issues. They're very aware that consumers are pretty concerned about homeopathic medicines. Another important thing that we did, and I have this little box here, and you can read it on your own time, but you can go to tinyurl.com/AFHC historical, and it'll direct you straight to our website where we have a really important document that outlines the timeline of events for homeopathic medicines since 1938 when the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act came out, to show you how homeopathy has been treated over the years in our legal system and in our political system, to kind of understand where homeopathy has been, so it helps you understand where we're going. And that's been a really important part of our work at Americans for Homeopathy Choice. Okay, another thing that we've achieved is we had a bipartisan letter with 25 members of the House and Senate, beautifully bipartisan. So I think there was like 12 Democrats, 13 Republicans that signed that letter asking FDA to be accountable to what they're doing to homeopathic medicines. We've had multiple FDA meetings with senior drug regulators at FDA. We continue to meet with them and keep them abreast of our work. We have the advocacy grassroots team, which I'll talk about a little bit. We call that the HAT team. We have an amazing legal team who helped develop this historical timeline that I mentioned here. And then we actually worked with different parts of the homeopathy community, particularly there's a smart super PAC, a hybrid PAC that organized a Marist poll. This is an official polling system that you can do in the United States, where we identified through this polling that 82% of American adults use natural health products, including homeopathic medicines. And we sent this results to Congress. And they said in that poll that whether or not their representative supports natural medicine like homeopathy influences their vote. This is important work that we were able to work with this the homeopathy community to put this together, and we're really proud of that work. So we made a lot of progress. In the United States, even though homeopathic medicines are drugs, they are the safest category of drug that FDA regulates. So there's really no reason why we shouldn't have access to these wonderful, wonderful medicines. So let's talk about the Homeopathy Action Team. What is the HAT team? It stands for Homeopathy Action Team, and there's two main roles on our team. We have the congressional lead and we have state captains. The congressional lead is someone who works at the very district level, the local level in their district, and they work on their own or as a in a small team of other people. And you build a relationship with your office, and you are provided that training. So you're creating a local network of homeopathy stakeholders in your district to amplify your message, to help them understand our concerns about homeopathic medicines. Now, congressional leads, they're not alone. Even if you're working individually, or maybe if you're with a small team, you guys aren't alone. You do have a state captain that you report to. Now, state captains are amazing. They help organize and train the grassroots team for your state. They guide the congressional leads through all of our training program. They're there if you have questions, if you're confused. They're amazing. And they provide direction and ongoing support. So we love our state captains. And so our HAT team is very organized. And we would love for you to join our HAT team. It's not open right now for public enrollment. If you're in a state and you just have this burning desire to get started, you can always email us and we can check with your state captain to see if they'll let you in. But for now, become that free member that I was telling you about when I went on the website, because becoming a free member, you're on our email list and you'll be notified when we open that HAT team. This is probably our most precious resource, because this is where that we build up our strength from the bottom up. You guys, we are approaching our big annual event. It's called Homeopathy on the Hill. And you can actually, we're updating the website. It's just homeopathychoice.org. We were doing homeopathychoiceaction.org, but it was confusing people. So I'm actually going to just edit this slide with you guys right here so that you know that it's just homeopathychoice.org. It's an exciting event where our HAT members, our members of our HAT team, the brand new ones meet with their members of Congress for the first time. We teach you the ins and outs of that. And if you're already on the hat team, you have follow-up meetings with your offices. So it's kind of a first date for new hat members, I like to say. And then it's a follow-up for those of you who are already members of the hat team. But this is a really important event. Now, it's not a flash in the pan event. So when you meet with let's say you're new to the hat team and you meet with your member of Congress for the first time, great. But we don't want it to be flash in the pan where they forget about you. After that event, you maintain that relationship and build that relationship with the office. So at the time of this recording, it's April 2024. And like literally this week, our members are having their big meetings on Capitol Hill. We're doing all of this through Zoom. I think sometimes if someone happens to be local, they'll go in person. But in general, they're doing all of this on Zoom. And it's a wonderful way to connect with their members of Congress. We just love it. Let me tell you a little bit about how we did last year. In 2023, we had 240 members 240 districts and offices that we met with throughout Congress. And so that reaches almost about half of the members of Congress. That's a big chunk that we're covering. That's a very large group of offices that we're covering. And of course, as we approach our next strategy, which I'll talk about in a bit, we are going to be wanting them to vote and support a bill. And so we need the majority to do that. So we do need more members of our hat team, but that's a pretty big chunk. And we're really proud of the women and the men who've stepped up to be part of our hat team, and we just love them so much. Okay, so what is our ask for Congress? Every year, the Homeopathy Action Team asks something to Congress about for them to support us around this issue. And right now, we are working very hard on preparing a bill. We're actually even considering adding to the Homeopathy Action Team a lobbying effort with a formal lobbying group. And so we're actually in a really exciting time where, you see, you can't just introduce a bill in Congress. You can't just show up and be like, I want you guys to do a bill. Congress isn't really willing to do that. You really need to show Congress that it's very necessary to do a bill. So that's what we've been doing this entire time. Let me go back to that timeline. When we did those citizen petitions, those were petitions to the FDA where we showed Congress, we tried working this out with the FDA. We met with FDA. You know, I told you here that we have those FDA's meetings. We've met with FDA. We've talked to them. We've sent 158,000 comments. We've sent you guys over 500,000 messages. We're not getting anywhere. And not only that, Congress, but we're losing our access to homeopathic medicines. And that's a problem. So over these 5 years, we've really gotten ourselves into a position where the idea of asking for, here we go, asking for a bill makes sense to Congress, and they're more open and willing to do that. And so that's exactly where we're at right now. So it's a very exciting time. And so we are working on drafting that. We've actually, Americans for Homeopathy Choice has met with as many homeopathy brand owners and manufacturers and members of the community as possible. As soon as we have an actual draft, we'll be circulating it throughout the leadership in different homeopathy organizations. Right now, we're just kind of picking the brains of the manufacturers because that's who this bill would, and brand owners, that's who this bill would primarily impact. And so we're focusing on making sure that we understand the pressures they're facing, like what are actual remedies that would work. We don't want to assume we understand those. So we've been doing a lot of research, but it's a very, very exciting time. And possibly by the time you hear this recording, we might already be moving forward with some of these, this work on the bill, maybe even a lobbying group. I'm not sure, but we are really working hard on gaining traction. And so that's why I'm telling you, it's so important for you to be on our free membership so that you can be notified, because we're going to need you to write to Congress, which we make it so easy. It's just a quick click of a button. So we are going to need you to support, and we are going to need you to consider joining the hat team when we reopen that later this fall. So we have amazing stories from our members of our hat team, and I'll tell you guys one briefly. One story we have is this woman who is in a district that actually is an important district. Her member of Congress is in leadership, and she heard that her member of Congress was going to be having a meet and greet locally with the members of her district. And she took the day off from work, this hat member did, and she says, you know, I'll just go and it'll probably be full of people. I probably won't have time to talk to her, but I'll just go and talk to her. And the day of the event came where they were going to have this local meet and greet with a congresswoman. And our hat member looked out the window and it was storming and raining and just so terrible. And she just thought, oh, I have to drive. It's like the location that the meet and greet was going to be at was kind of at a remote location, kind of up the mountain, a little ways away. Well, this hat member was like, oh, I'll just brave the storm. I'll go up the mountain and I will meet with this congresswoman. So she does. And when she arrives, to her shock, everybody else must have had the same thought, like, I'm not going to go because it's raining. And there was hardly anybody there. And she was able to sit down with this congresswoman who's in a leadership position and talk about her issue. And this congresswoman was very sympathetic to this issue. And she was very eager to help us. And so this is just a little example of what power, what influence that local people, that the grassroots people can have. Of course, even if we're looking at adding a lobbying effort to a formal lobbying effort to our grassroots work, the power and the strength is always with the people, and it's always with people like you. And so I hope you guys know how powerful and important you guys are to our work and what we're doing at Americans for Homeopathy Choice, and how much you're needed at a time like this. I like to say that the only reason, I'm going to go back to the beginning here, the only reason that homeopathy has thrived and survived and reached you today is because generations that have gone before you have done their part. They've done their part to ensure your access to homeopathic medicines. And now it's our generation's turn to do our part. So here's my question to you. The FDA and our homeopathic medicines, should you be worried? Should you be worried that they were able to basically overnight remove an entire group of homeopathic medicines, the eye drops? This is the second group they removed. The first group they removed were homeopathic injectable products. Now, this is maybe something you're not very familiar with. I certainly wasn't until it happened. And I know that consumers didn't feel this quite so acutely, because anytime you have an injectable product in the United States, because of that mode of delivery, it has to be done through a physician. But the physicians felt that, not so much the people, but I know people felt it with eye drops. And the concern that I have is that the mechanism the FDA used to pull these products off the shelves is the same mechanism that can be used for other groups, like children's products, or I don't know, all the different groups of medicines that we have out there that are homeopathic medicines. And we know that all homeopathic medicines can be safe for vulnerable populations like the elderly, like children. It's actually the safest category, as far as I'm concerned, for these people. And the FDA has said in their guidance document, oh, that they're only going to go after certain categories that might impact vulnerable populations, categories of homeopathic medicines that could impact vulnerable populations like the elderly or children. And I ask you, that means you're going after all of homeopathic medicines, right? I ask you, like, what medicine isn't appropriate for children or the elderly, as long as it's well selected, individualized. And so, I ask you, should you be worried? And I think the answer is pretty obvious. And so if you could just do one thing for us from this presentation, that is going to our website, homeopathychoice.org, and becoming a free member. So this was a quick and dirty explanation of what's going on right now in homeopathic medicines. I really hope that you guys will take the time to become a member and to join our hat team when we open that up again, and at least when we send those action alerts, to stay abreast of our work. All right, you guys, thank you so much. And this is Paola Brown, President of Americans for Homeopathy Choice, signing off. We'll see you guys later. Bye.